Hello, and welcome to MIC TV. Today we are going to be discussing the importance of your artist and band name. If you don't know, I am Greg Ferriolo, your host, along with my partner, TJ Peterson.
Hi, guys.
Now, if this is your first time joining us, we'd like to welcome you to the MIC community and would love it if you would drop your name and some information about you in the chat so we can get to know you a little bit more, introduce yourself to our community. If you want to let us know your genre, share some of your social links, we will go back and check it out when we have time. Also, before we get started today, we'd like to let you know that if you ever want anything or need anything from us, you can find us at our website, musicianindiecoalition.com, which TJ will drop into the chat. And again, our site has some great resources for musicians. And you can also learn about the different ways that we can work together or assist you in your music career. So check it out when you have a chance. All right. Enough with the intro stuff. Today, we are going to be discussing, again, the importance of your artist and band name. Specifically, we're going to be talking about some of the key elements you should be aware of when you're selecting your name, the process for claiming your name online, and what to do if your name isn't available, and finally, how to go about owning your name and protecting it, which is very important. Okay, so to start, once you decide that you want to pursue music as your full-time career, you should be working on things like creating your business plan and setting up your customer funnel. Now, as part of this initial setup process, one of the first things that you're going to wind up doing is going to be choosing your artist and band name. Now, when it comes to choosing your artist and band name, it can be as simple as using the given name that you have, or as difficult as maybe creating one specifically for your music. But whatever process you decide to use, the importance of your name selection can't be stressed enough. Now, as if you've been following us at all or know anything about the work that we do and some of the stuff that we talked about, you know that like your brand is a big part of creating your business because it's going to be the thing that people identify with when they see you online and all the things that you are working on. Now, the most vital part, again, of your brand is not only the emotion and stuff that you put behind it, but also what goes into it when you're developing it are the things that are going to attract people. So when we talk about your brand, we're covering visual items like your logo, your font, your wardrobe, your color scheme, and then again, the emotional hooks that you're going to use to connect with your audience. And the process when you begin to develop your brand starts with your name, because it's going to be used on everything you do, from your merch to your website. It'll be on your logo. It's going to be how fans search for you, and the list just goes on. So your name is extremely important. Now, why is it important? Because from the moment that you actually go and select your artist name, every show you play, every social media post that you write, and every piece of merch that you sell is building brand awareness, meaning your artist reputation. And if you ever choose to change your name, which we've known a lot of artists have gone through that, or if you wind up losing it for some reason, you essentially have to start all over again from square one and reintroduce yourself to fans. And that could be an absolute nightmare if you need to go through that. So we are now going to start by discussing some of the key elements you should be aware of when you are going and trying to select your name. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're selecting a name is you want to begin by doing an online search for your name. And this should be done using Google search, searching on YouTube, searching, on music services like Spotify, and on all the different social media channels. Basically everywhere that you plan on using your name as an artist. Now, the reason you want to do this for is to see if anyone else is using it. And it's really, really important. Again, we have some clients that share names with another artist or maybe even two or three artists, and it can be really confusing for fans, and it makes it difficult, for yourself when you're administering your online channels. So you don't want to be kind of going through that as you are developing your music career. So this means when you choose your name, we recommend choosing something that is unique and that also something that will help you stand out. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't use your given name or something common, but understand that a more common name or your given name is going to make it harder for you to be searchable. So if your name is John Smith, I mean, that's a very common, like almost, name that you're going to put that in a Google search and there's going to be a million people that show up. Or if you name your band after something like Common, then that's another major thing where when you go to search for that, you're going to be dealing with all the different things that share that name. So you really want to be mindful, of that when you're going through that process. And being searchable for musicians, if you're not already aware, it's tough. I mean, a lot of musicians have to spend a lot of time, getting noticed and letting people find their name and, find where they're at and find their merchandise and find their website. So like, you don't want to make it any more complex than you need to, but you also want to not be fighting with other artists and bands when people are actually looking for you. TJ, anything you want to chime in there on there, or I'm just going to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, there's also the issue of like SEO. If you have, a term that's searched all the time, if you start paying to kind of get your SEO in a better space, you're going to be competing with much higher price tags if it's a very common thing. If you have a unique name and no one else is bidding on that search term, then you're good to go. You don't even need to do that. And again, also I like names that are, you can say them and people know how to type them. So like, it's just spelling something crazy. If when you say it, if they don't know what to search because they don't know how to spell that, if you're going to spell something differently, if you're going to like do it something simple like heavy but spelled with an I, heavy with an I or something, like you gotta think about when you're talking about word of mouth and meeting someone at a show. You want to be able to say it and they know it and they can search it when they get home. Or at least at your show, you can put up, obviously you should always put up like a banner or have your bass drum or something, have your name on it so people can see it. So that could be a solution, but.
Yeah, and this isn't just like, just your artist and band name. Like every business goes through this, because when you're creating a brand new business, it's the same thing. Because every business has to have a brand, so people can identify, what that business is all about and how they can connect with them. So you want to put the time and energy into that name. And so you want to make sure again that it's searchable and available, and that way you're not having any problems as you begin to kind of start focusing on developing that name into a household name that everyone knows. So which brings us to point two. Now, once you actually have a name that looks like it's available, you want to claim it online. So the first step in this process is to go onto a service like GoDaddy and claim your URL for your website. Now, website URLs alone are really difficult to get. Why? It's not even just for people that are going out there and claiming the different names that they're going to use, but when the internet basically started becoming popular and websites start becoming a thing, there were people out there that recognized the value of URLs, and they went out there and they just go up and they start buying up URLs so they can start selling them to other people. So getting and securing a URL, especially a .com, can be extremely difficult. So you want to really look into that process as part of your search results. Now, if your name, when you're looking for your URL, isn't available, a common fix for that for a lot of musicians is by adding the word music or band. So if your name was John Doe and it wasn't available, you can say John Doe Music or John Doe Band, something that just kind of adds a little bit of a twist to it that might make it searchable and available on, a service like GoDaddy. Now, once you find out that your URL is available and you're ready to buy it, before you actually go and do that, we recommend going to your social media channels and claiming your name on there first. Now, the reason we recommend claiming your name on your social media channels first is because they're free. And this protects you from having to buy a URL and then finding out that you can't use that name on social media for some reason, and then having to buy another URL. And we speak from experience. We own quite a few URLs from when we were first starting up and coming up with a name for like Musician Indie Coalition. And we also know a lot of artists that have the same thing, pop up, where it's just like, yeah, I own about 4 or 5 URLs just because they had an idea for a name, liked it, went out and bought it because they were so excited about it. And then it was just like, oh, not available, or oh, my idea changed. So you really want to think about that kind of stuff as you're going through this process. Now, when you're claiming your @name on social media, if you can't find your exact name that you want to use, that's okay. Your goal should just be to find something at least close. And then, if you can find something that's close to the name that you want to use, try to use that same name uniformly across all your channels. So if you're sharing the at symbol, the at name, like you actually can share that in a way that is going to work for all your channels. Now, when we did Musician Indie Coalition, it took, first of all, a long time to come up with a name because we had a lot of names we felt might encompass what it is that we were trying to do, but there were so many things that weren't available, to the point where, like, when I was thinking, like, how am I going to go across actually creating this name, I started thinking about, okay, well, we work with musicians, so musician is kind of an easy one for us to add, and then we're going to be working with independent musicians, which is where the indie part comes from, and then coalition, and the process and name selection behind that the whole thing was we want to gather other musicians and collaborate with them, and all of us work together to kind of build a better, stronger industry specifically for independent musicians. So that's where Musician Indie Coalition comes from. Plus, it also had a nice little anagram of the MIC to kind of go through it, which is obviously a music term. But it took us a really long time to think about coming up with that. We went through a lot of different iterations. We went through looking through social media channels, and it was really, really difficult. It took us a very long time to do it. But, name selections is one of those things where when it clicks, it just clicks. And you'll find something that will work for you. You just sometimes really need to be a little bit dedicated to and determined to find what you want to do. Now, when you finally do secure all your social media channels, then you want to go back and you want to purchase your domain name on a service like GoDaddy. That way you own everything. And then you can at least feel secure in the fact that, you can begin working on building your customer funnel and all the channels around that, and begin promoting, your online areas where people can kind of connect with you with more confidence, because you have the name and no one else out there is really using anything close to it. Now, be aware that even though you do all this due diligence and you get everything that you need to have, you aren't exactly out of name danger quite yet, which isn't what you want, I'm sure, what you want to hear, but it's true, because all the searching you've done to make sure that no one has your name or is using something close to it, and then all the different URLs are available and you possess everything, doesn't stop someone after you have that name coming out and being like, hey, I want to be such and such, or hey, I want to use this band name. So what do you do for situations like that? Now, step one is, you actually, since you own the URL and you have all the names, when people are searching, it's going to make it, you're going to be the first person that they're going to find. So you can rest assured with some of that. But if you are ever in this sort of situation, you want to figure out how you can go about protecting it. And the answer for that is through trademarking your name. Now, just like a copyright legally protects your music, a trademark legally protects your brand and your name by extension, because your name is the beginning of what your brand is all about. Now, I'm not going to go heavily into the trademark process, but in short, anyone when you want to protect your name, the trademark will protect your name and your logo. Now, it can protect just your name or just your logo or a combination of both. But there are different things that you need to file for, but you do have that protection. And what it does is it prevents anyone from using it when, selling music and merchandise in your area or your field of work, which in your profession will be music. Now, if someone was selling computers using your name, that's okay, because they're not in competition with you. So if you want to name yourself Apple, which I wouldn't recommend doing because that's kind of a common name, you wouldn't necessarily be getting infringed upon on Apple, from Apple computers, because you're a musician. But if you use the Beatles, they're going to be Paul McCartney will be knocking on your door for that, because you're not allowed to be using another band's name. Now, when it comes time for you to select your trademarking, actually go through the process of getting it, you're going to go to the government service in the United States called the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And when it comes time to file for a trademark, we recommend typically not doing that right away and waiting until you're earning a decent amount of money from your music. Now, the question is why? Obviously, we just spent this entire time so far stressing the fact of how hard it is to get a name, and you finally have it. So, and then you trademark it, and now we're telling you to wait. Well, why? Because it's kind of scary. Well, because acquiring a trademark can cost thousands of dollars. And you can only get one if you're actually using it, using your name or your logo to sell services or a product. So it's a big financial commitment for an indie musician, and it requires getting an attorney. So you should be further along in your career before actually applying for one. And it's also worth noting too that just because you apply for a trademark doesn't mean that you'll actually be granted one. You have to go through an approval process. And if you're not approved, the downside is they don't refund your money. Which again, they could cost you thousands of dollars. So there's a risk when you go through the process of applying, which is another reason, again, why we suggest having some patience and waiting. Now, additionally, a trademark is like a copyright and only protects you domestically. And if you plan on having, an international career, then you're going to want to eventually file for an international trademark. But your first step is getting one domestically. Now, when TJ and I have secured the MIC name and logo, for our business, because it was an important part because of having our brand. Just like we said to you, we took time to develop our brand and our service and everything else. And the second we felt like we actually had, we were bringing in money, we went and we filed for the trademark. When did we do it? We did it right at the point in time when we're like, okay, now we're going to start making this really visible and start maybe promoting it and advertising it. And once we kind of started putting it out there and had a major website up and all that kind of stuff, then we spent the money and we filed for it because it was at that point in time we felt like we needed that kind of protection. But we were in development for probably 2 or 3 years where we were doing private coaching and handing out business cards and doing all that kind of stuff before we even considered actually spending the money on that. And it was, was it nerve-wracking? Sure. But how many people out there did we think were actually going to use the name Musician Indie Coalition? It's kind of a mouthful. But you want to make sure that that's why you want to make sure that you use a name that's unique, because you don't have to really be overly concerned that someone's going to rush out and get the trademark, especially when you already own the website URL and the social media channels. It will probably make most people rethink using that name because they're going to want to have an easy way to promote themselves. So having that kind of patience is important, but you also, when you're ready, you want to go right after it and make sure you get it done. And it is, could take up to 6 months to a year before you're approved. And then there's actually even refiling stuff that goes on as time goes on. So it's actually a commitment, which is again why you want to use an attorney for. Now, as you can see, selecting a name and securing it and protecting it is a very involved process. It's not just, I want to be called such and such and let's go and let's start making that music career. You really want to think about it. If you really are serious about building a professional career, you have to have a name that you can feel secure, that you can invest your time and energy into, because again, that's brand awareness. It's your brand reputation. And you don't want to go through a process of having to tell your audience, hey, now I've switched my name to this and you can find me here. I mean, it's very difficult. So basically, in short, the name is everything. So you need to select something that not only represents you, but you also need to do something to protect it once you've gone through the process of putting some time and energy in to building it up for your audience and fans. So when it comes time for you to get your name, take your time, do your homework, and select a name that you really can build a brand and career on, because it's, one of the most important early steps that you'll take when you're just starting out. And it will save you a lot of headaches and even protect your career from being damaged in the future. All right, so that's going to be our show for today. So everyone have a great day. And remember, we're always here if you are in need of help with your career. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in creating a professional brand that's going to help you to transform your casual followers into financial supporters, then I invite you to take our free brand creation program that we call your Signature Sales Story. You can find the link for it in the description below. And please don't forget to subscribe. Your support really matters and helps us a lot. Have a great day.